Clint Dickerson with Windwalker Underground Gallery and Music School here in the beautiful Charlotte, Michigan, coming to you for lesson number 3. So if you watched my first 2 lessons, thank you for coming back. The first lesson, we talked about all the notes on the fretboard. So we went through our chromatic scales and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all the notes that are in between. I hope you found that video informative, and that's a video that you should continue to watch and continue to work on that for months to come until you feel really confident where all your notes is on the guitar. So your goal is to be able to eventually just look at a note and go, that's an A sharp, my friend. It's going to take some time, so don't worry about that. While you're working on that, I want you to continue to working on with what we're doing. If you watched our second video, you learned the difference between notes and chords. Notes are a single hit on one string. That's a C note. Chords are multiple strings played together. C chord. Okay? Notes are used for melody. Chords are used for rhythm guitar. So from video 2, we learned our G chord, and we learned our E minor chord. And we also learned how to pivot using the pointer finger. And we learned the 3 things that will create bad noises in a guitar chord. 1, you're not pushing down hard enough. 2, you're touching a fret line. And 3, something else on your hand, whether it be another finger or down here, is touching something, a string that it shouldn't be touching. And those 3 things are going to give you bad noises in your chords. But we've got our G, we've got our E minor, so let's move on to the next chords. Okay, so our next chords in the series are going to be C. So I'm going to show you how to play a C chord today, and I'm going to show you how to play an A minor. The best way that I can show people this is if this is our G, we're going to move these 2 fingers down 1 to our C spots, right here and here. So we just took our G notes, and so we're going to move them down here. So now we're going to be playing the A string on the 3rd fret and the D string on the 2nd fret. The only problem with that is we have to use a different fingering position because we're going to need our pointer finger in a second. So we're going to actually play the C note here, the A string on the 3rd fret with our ring finger. And we're going to play this E note, which is the D string 2nd fret, with our middle finger. So we've got this. So going from that G, we're using these 2 fingers. We're now going to be using these 2 fingers. Now, reason why? Because we needed this pointer finger. See my pointer finger over here? For the C chord, our pointer finger is going to have to go here on the B string of the 1st fret. This is probably the hardest chord for youngsters, for young kids, because of how far you have to stretch out between the 3 frets. Some people struggle with the G chord. Some people struggle with the C. But those are probably the 2 hardest chords in our 6-chord key progression that we're going to learn in the next couple of lessons. So we've got our ring finger on the A string 3rd fret. And you can also take a look at our chord chart here. Down below, our middle finger is hitting the D string 2nd fret. And then our pointer finger is going to round that out and play the B string 1st fret. Another good way to remember this is that there's going to be a finger in each different fret, 1, 2, 3, on different strings. So you just have to remember that the G string doesn't get touched. So you got pointer on the B, you skip the G, you go to the D string of the 2nd fret, and then you go to the A string on the 3rd fret. You strum it all together. There is your C chord. Okay? Let me say that one more time because this is a tricky chord. It really is. This was, when I was young learning, this was probably my hardest one that I had a hard time with. So my ring finger is on the A string 3rd fret, which is a C note. My middle finger is going to be on the D string, the next string down on the 2nd fret. We're going to skip the G string and go to the B string with our pointer finger on the 1st fret. We strum down with our pick or our thumb. If you notice, by the way, the thumb gives it a more bassier, quieter sound. The pick gives it a more tinny, vibrant sound. So depending on what you're looking for. All right. Now, to learn an A minor from the C, is fairly easy, and that's why I chose this pattern. When we're done with our C chord, just like we did with the E minor and the G, we're going to pivot using this ring finger. We're going to drop it down underneath the middle finger. So here's my C chord one more time. When I'm done playing that, I'm going to take this finger here, my ring finger, and I'm going to drop it underneath my middle finger onto the G string. Remember, in the C chord, the G string wasn't being used, it was open. Now we're going to take this ring finger and move it down to where that G string was on the 2nd fret, underneath the middle finger. These two fingers are going to stay exactly the same spot. So the difference between the C and the A minor is literally this ring finger. It goes from here to here, here to here. So it goes from the A string to the G string of the 2nd fret. C, A minor. And again, the less movement you have, the better. So I'll show you a do and I'll show you a don't. Here's what you do. So notice that these two fingers didn't move at all. Here's what you don't do. If you take your hand off, now you have to reposition these two fingers all over again. You want to keep it as easy as possible. So we're just moving this ring finger from the C of the A string 3rd fret down to the A, which is the G string 2nd fret. Okay, so now if you watch the second video in this one, we should have our G, our E minor, our C, and our A minor. Okay, so why don't you pause the video and take a little bit of time and work on those. And we'll be right back with the last two chords of the key of G. We're back. We hope you enjoyed learning the G, the E minor, the C, and the A minor. We've got two chords that are going to round out the 6-chord key progression, which progression is one of those words that you're going to learn, so we might as well talk about it right now. The reason why we use the word progression is because it's used a lot in the music industry. If you go to a show, they're going to use the word progression. If you're in a band, you're going to hear the word progression. So I say the word progression, but it can be confusing. So the word progression is just a big fancy word for pattern. We all remember patterns when we were in kindergarten and 1st grade, and our teacher would say triangle, triangle, square. Triangle, triangle, square. It's just completing a pattern. That's what we're doing when we say a progression. It's a pattern. So we're creating the 6-chord pattern or progression for the key of G. We learned G, we learned E minor, we learned C, we learned A minor. Hopefully those are going well for you. If they're not, please go back and watch the video and make sure you're looking at the chord charts as well. All right, so our next two chords are going to be D and A, and that's going to round out our 6-chord progression in the key of G. So for our D, it can be kind of tricky. So what I always do is, again, we're going to bring that peace sign back. Everybody make a peace sign right now. Peace. So we're going to take these two fingers, and those two fingers are going to be in the same fret together. 1, 2, 2nd fret. So we're going to put our pointer finger on the G string 2nd fret, and we're going to put our middle finger on the bottom string or the E string 2nd fret. So right now we should have this. Okay? Doesn't sound quite there yet, does it? Okay, so our ring finger, look at it, it's sitting there going, it's got to go somewhere. So it does. So it's going to sit on the B string of the 3rd fret. So the reason why we use the peace sign is because those two fingers are going to be in the same fret with each other. The 3rd string and the 1st string, so the G string and the E string, and then the ring finger is going to round out the rest of the chord on the 3rd fret of the B string, okay? So it's going to look like this. This is why I call it a smiley face chord, because it almost looks like my fingers are making a smiley face, okay? Now, it's a pretty easy chord to play once you get it, but the problem can be with the fingering. How do I play it? How is this fingering working? Sometimes people get confused on which finger goes where. Again, if you take the peace sign, 3, 1, and then the ring finger will round out on the B string of the 3rd fret. And there's your D chord. You can also look at the chart up here, and you can see how the D chord is positioned on there as well. So there's your D. Now, last but not least, we have our A chord. Our A chord is going to be played with 3 fingers. I like to call this the stair stepper chord because when you're done, it should look like your fingers are having a set of stairs on it. And the reason why I say that is because we've got to get 3 fingers into 1 fret. That can be tricky, especially for a guy with chubby fingers like myself. So, the good news is, remembering it should be fairly easy because all of the strings being held are in the 2nd fret. So we don't have to remember frets so much, we just got to remember strings. So if we play our middle finger on the D, 2nd fret, our ring finger on the G string, 2nd fret, and our pinky on the B string, 2nd fret. See how it looks like I'm climbing a set of stairs? I wish I had a little Lego guy. I'd have my Lego guy climb the stairs there for you. But that's why I call it the stair stepper. You're playing a set of stairs right there. All 3 should be in the same fret, and then you're just gonna strum it down with either your pick or your thumb, and that creates your A chord. Okay, so what I want you to do right now is I want you to pause this video, and I want you to go through those chords for a few minutes, and just make sure you got them. The worst thing you could do is go too fast. So take a time, pause me. When you're ready, we'll continue with how to put that progression together. All right. So by now we should know our G, our E minor, our C, our A minor, our D, and our A. Now if you're armed with that arsenal, those 6 chords, you can literally play thousands of songs. A lot of people don't believe me, I promise you. Because even if the song is not in G, we can transpose it to G. So you can literally learn thousands and thousands of songs with those 6 chords. Now that doesn't mean that you just stop there. You want to learn and keep going and getting better. But you can do a lot with what little bit you've watched in these 3 videos. So the hardest part we're about to do is right now. The hardest part about learning chords is being able to maneuver between them. Okay, once you learn that G, you're very proud of it. You're just like, oh, here's my G chord. And then you've got to move to the next chord, to the next chord, to the next chord. And moving between chords can be really tricky. So the reason why I've given you these 6 chords in this pattern is because I feel, as a teacher of over 12 years, I feel that using this 6 chord pattern will help you learn the muscle memory faster, and it'll help you get to the chord that you need to get to faster. For example, we talked about in video 2, going from my G to E minor, all I'm doing is I'm pivoting my middle finger. Using my pointer finger as the pivot, I'm moving my middle finger from the top to underneath. So here's my G, here's my E minor. Now, if we go from our E minor to my C, I'm going to take my pointer finger off. I'm going to add it to my B string. I'm going to take my ring finger and I'm going to add it to my A string. And then all of a sudden, I'm right there at my C chord. Again, that's probably the hardest one, so I'm going to show you that right there. If I'm on my E minor and I want to get to my C, my middle finger is already set. It doesn't need to move. So I drop my pointer finger down to the B, 1st fret, and I drop my ring finger up here to the A, 3rd fret. I'm on my C. Now, the easiest one, I think, is getting from the C to the A minor. I take my C note, which is on the A string of the 3rd fret, and I just simply move it underneath my middle finger onto the G string that's not being used. So G was wide open. I take that finger and I put it there. I've got my C, or my A minor, I apologize. So from C to A minor. Now, from A minor to D, there's really not an easy thing to do. So the best thing to do from A minor to D is take these pointer fingers and the middle finger, create that peace sign, and say these 2 fingers are going to be in the same fret together. 3 and 1, add that ring finger, there's my D. Okay? And then from the D to the A, we're just using the D, G, and B strings of the 2nd fret. Now some people, you'll use the pointer, middle, and ring finger. If that's the case, then if you go from your D, all you gotta do is bring your pointer finger up 1, and then move these 3 underneath to create your A. People like me can't fit those 3 fingers in the same fret because I have fatter fingers. So I use these 3 fingers, my middle finger, my ring, and my pinky. But once again, I'm just going up 1, and then the other 2 follow. So it's always really good to find one string that you can find real easy, and then the other ones follow suit. Another good point that my buddy Dennis Malloy points out is that if you make a chord, watch which finger touches last. For example, if I make a C chord, the last finger that's touching its string would be my ring finger. Okay? So the next time you make that chord, try to reverse it and make that chord with that finger first. So before, I went this way. Now I'm going to go this way. Okay? And what that's doing is if you can create that chord from different positioning, it's only going to make you a better player and at a faster rate. And that's what we want to do, is we want to get you to playing songs. Okay? And that's our goal. So take those two things into consideration when you're moving your chords. One, take the last finger that's being placed and now make that the first finger being placed. All right, so here's a little exercise that we can do. We're going to take our right hand. We haven't talked much about our right hand. So that'll be in future videos, how to strumming patterns. We might have like a Johnny Cash. We might have like a Eagles rhythm. Okay, we might have a bluegrass. Folk. So we'll talk about our right hand in future lessons. But what we want to do right now is we want to get in the habit of counting by fours. Okay? So what we're going to do is, whether we're using our pick or we're using our thumb, is we're going to take our G chord and we're going to strum 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the only real rule I have with this is that you want each strum to be equal. You don't want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That'd be weird. Or 1, 2, 3, 4. You want it to be even, like a clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then once we're done with those 4 G's, we're going to move and pivot to our E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to pivot to our C. Notice one of my fingers didn't move. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to pivot down to the A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to take our peace sign and we're going to make our D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to take our finger above where it was at, and we're going to use the D, G, and B strings to make our A. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all together, it should be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, switch. 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 1, 2, 3, 4, back to G. 1. And you can do this as many times as you want, but what you want to make sure you're doing is that you're not stopping. You want to play like you would in a song. You wouldn't just play a song for one round to be done. An average song is about 4 minutes long, 3 to 4 minutes long. So you want to make sure that you're doing it for that length of time. And that's a 6-chord progression in the key of G that can get you to be playing tons and tons of songs for a long, long time. Please tune in to our future videos. We really appreciate your support, and we look forward to helping you for a long, long time. I'm Clint Dickerson from Windwalker Underground Gallery and Music School in the beautiful Charlotte, Michigan. Have a wonderful day.